Hi, loves. It is World Autism Awareness Day, and I can't seem to make a video that is shorter than 10 minutes. Let's see how I do this time. My name is Sarah Valencia. My business is Made by Mocha. I'm an amigurumi designer and creator, and I am self-diagnosed autistic ADHD. My son is 9. And he was diagnosed combo autistic ADHD when he was in first grade. So that is a journey we were all going on together. Oh no. Stay. Thank you, friend. Neurotypes are highly heritable and run in families. So it's really, really common, and it's becoming more common lately, that parents will find out that their kids have some alternate neurotype from the typical, and then they go, oh, yeah, I really associate with that. And they go and get tested and learn new things about themselves. We don't really have the spoons or the time to really get me fully clinically assessed. I've done a lot of online research, yes, but I actually know how to research things, and done RADS tests and things from multiple clinical psychology websites from multiple different countries. I am if not definitely autistic, I am at least subclinical. It's there. I associate with a lot of the commonalities that happen in the spectrum. And it is a spectrum. Like, a lot of people will use that to like push it down, like, oh, everybody's on a spectrum. Like, it's not a spectrum from normal to abnormal. That's not what the spectrum is. It's not a spectrum from abled to disabled. That's not what the spectrum is. The spectrum is, yes, within an autistic person, how much it affects your daily life, but also it's what the traits are. It is not like every single autistic person has A, B, C, and D. There's a whole like Lego box to choose from and build your pieces from. But we have learned a couple different things over the last few decades. And we have people like Grandin and what's their name? Devon to thank for that. So Grandin builds farm equipment, cattle runs and things. She's really spectacularly brilliant, but she's kind of more known for being autistic and talking about being autistic and learning and exploring about the way that she thinks, and learning that other people don't actually think, like their brains don't function in the same way that she does. She sees in hyper realistic pictures, which is phenomenal and so cool. But she has had the great privilege that I'm very jealous of getting her brain scanned anytime there's some new equipment that comes out, and she gets to go have her brain scanned. And so that has been on the forefront of learning about the brains of people on the spectrum. And we're actually, our brains are grown and developed differently, not just neuronal pathways, but physically differently. And that's going to be different for every person, as it is for autistic people too. But there is a considered normal spectrum, and what is outside of the considered normal spectrum. And so there's, parallel nodes where one is bigger than the other, or however it works out. Literally, our brains are physically different, and that affects how our neurons function. So that's very cool. I would love to have a full map of my brain. So thank you, Temple, for that. And then there's a book that I am most of the way through by Devon Price, who is a social psychology PhD. And they talk about their whole journey with not just their gender identity, but also with their identity as an autistic person and masking. The book that I've been listening to while working is called Unmasking Autism. And you learn a lot about it and about the people who are autistic by pulling away and understanding all of the layers that people have used to protect themselves, because neurotypical people have told them to change who they are for the comfort of neurotypical people. And it doesn't usually matter if neurotypical people are charismatic assholes. Like, it's typical and it's expected and it's accepted, so that kind of behavior is fine. And other kinds of behavior that makes those kind of people uncomfortable is taught to be not fine, so we have to suppress ourselves. And I have had a lot of my life being told that I am too much, that I have to be less, but then nobody explains to me what it is I'm actually supposed to be. And that is something that Devon has talked about in their understanding of what autism is across the spectrum. There are multiple different traits and presentations, but there are a couple of things that seem to be universalish. And that is bottom-up processing of information instead of top-down processing of information, and whether or not our brains acclimate to things. So bottom-up being, I need to know what the rules of a situation are so that I can know how to fit into that situation. And when I see people who don't follow those rules and are rewarded for it, it's incredibly confusing and frustrating. But like, we see a tree because we see bark and a shape and a trunk and branches and leaves, and we know it's a tree, versus I vaguely see a tree and then I see all the details to it. So sometimes that makes it difficult in my work. If I'm extraordinarily tired, if I'm out of spoons, if I've had a really rough day and I've made it to, say, the face of my stuffy, I know this shape plus this shape plus this shape in these locations make a cute, happy face. But I don't always emotionally connect to it. I can't necessarily see the forest for all of the leaves. So that's a thing. And the other one is information acclimation. So sensory information. Our brains feel air pressure, but it's so constant and persistent that our brains ignore it. Autistic people have an even harder time with this, not with air pressure, but say your noise sensory. If you go into a loud bar and noise bothers you, the people around you will acclimate to the level of noise and they'll be able to process normally throughout the rest of the night. However, an autistic person who is sound sensory might feel literally oppressively smothered by the sound. It can be a physical feeling, it can lead to deep anxiety, and it seems to get louder. So we either need to sensory deprive, leave the bar, or we need to sensory seek, find something that distracts us from it. But those are two of the main things that autistic people tend to have very much in common, is the way that we process the world and the way that we are unable to let go of some information. I hope this was informative. It was certainly not comprehensive.